The state of the wish fulfilled is not an emotion. It's not even a feeling. It's a sense. There is a feeling component, but the feeling it's the feeling of shutting off the mind. It's the feeling of the wish fulfilled is non-resistance. It's complete acceptance. It's complete presence with the moment as it is. That's the state of the wish fulfilled. A lot of people think that they need to maintain some high frequency or something to get to the state of the wish fulfilled, but that never works. And because that's actually just a reaction to the subconscious resistance to the experience as it is. So it just reinforces anytime we're reacting to tension, anytime we're reacting in general, we're not creating. Reacting is always repeating patterns. And so the path to the wish fulfilled is actually less energy. The path to I am is less energy. I am, pure I amness without mental activity, that's the same thing as the state of the wish fulfilled. Because when you have no resistance to life, life automatically feels perfect. But it's not feeling perfect on like an emotional kind of way. It's feeling perfect in the sense that there's no resistance, there's no judgment, there's no labeling of the experience. It can even kind of feel like neutrality. It can kind of feel empty in a way, but it only feels like that at first. And that neutrality is very powerful because the neutrality actually undoes these energetic patterns. Any type of resistance, it's like I explained in the last recording, any type of resistance, it's a form, what happens is all of life is energy. And so if you have a blockage in some area of your life where you keep repeating these patterns, say it's with money, you have mental resistance to money in some way. And that mental resistance within the flow of life, if you imagine all of your energy is water, the mental resistance is actually like little torpedoes that have formed within the water. And then those torpedoes, your energy is no longer flowing forward in that direction. It actually is flowing downwards. It's involuting. It's repeating itself, which causes the repeating patterns. And it's also draining your energy. And it's also disrupting the surrounding flow, which is like in real world, it's like if you have money problems, that could affect your relationships in a way. Like if you're in any type of blockage, it disrupts in some way the flow of the whole river. Being in the vortex, or being in the vortex as Abraham Hicks calls it, it's actually the opposite of being in the torpedo. The vortex is like the inverse of the torpedo. The vortex is going upwards, but the vortex isn't even, it's all that is non-resistance. And what it really means, it means collapsing the particle into the wave. When your energy is in a form of resistance, in a form of mental positioning, any type of mental positioning, it collapses the energy into a particle. And the moment it's a particle, it's frozen. It's not flowing. And then it doesn't work. It gets stagnant and it gives you problems. But being in the vortex or being in the state of the wish fulfilled, it's all about collapsing these particles, collapsing these torpedoes and restoring the flow. And then that's when life automatically begins to flow in these directions. That's what it all comes down to. It comes down to mental resistance. And it comes down to seeing that the mental resistance can happen on a level subtler than words. But all resistance is always mental activity. And it's like you don't have to be thinking out loud that you don't like an experience for there to be resistance to that experience. That can be happening on a level subtler than words. But resistance is always a thought form. It's a mental activity. And once you make the unconscious conscious, once you shine your light of awareness on this pattern and you see that it's playing out and you see that it's only mental activity, you can withdraw it. You can break these patterns. You can return to neutrality and you can allow the energy to begin to flow again, and then it will automatically purify and refine and expand, and more bliss will flow into the experience. But it begins with neutrality. You want to neutralize these patterns. Rest in neutrality and rest in a state of non-resistance. And then go through your daily life still doing whatever you need to do, and you still follow inspiration as it arises. If you feel excited and loving to do something, you're welcome to follow that. That's like inspired action. but you don't want to be, it's key to see the difference between inspiration and desire. Inspiration comes from non-resistance, and inspiration actually has no attachment to outcome. Inspiration doesn't really care about past or future or judgment or outcomes. It's just doing something as the natural flow of life. Whereas desire is a form of resistance. It's saying something is wrong with the present, or something is going to be wrong in the future, or something is wrong with the past. And then there's some form of resistance to that, and then you're trying to change it. But as long as there's desire, you're actually repeating these energetic torpedoes. And so the state of the wish fulfilled is actually the absence of desire. It's not an emotion. And then what happens, the real feeling, the feeling that's the secret, it's not so much the emotion, it's the bliss that starts to pour over into the experience when we refine the flow. When the flow begins to happen again, it automatically gets more and more blissful, because that's the nature of energy. And it happens effortlessly because it's just flowing. That water's just flowing. But you have to stop consenting to these patterns, to these mental resistances, and most of them we're not even aware of. We actually have to tune into it and to catch ourselves when it's happening, and then choose the other option, choose expansion, choose neutrality. And that's when you can actually become the master of your life. But the ironic thing is, the way to master your life is to give up trying to be the master. True power does not come from the personal will. True power comes from alignment with source. When you can surrender and you can go into a state of non-resistance, that personal will, it merges with the divine will. And then what you want is what God wants. But it's not coming from you. It's coming from inspiration. And there's no attachment to outcome. Everything is just flowing through. And that's when everything falls into place. But it requires non-resistance. It requires surrender. And not surrender as a state of mind, because that could be another act of resistance. It's true surrender, which is the withdrawal of all mental activity. Surrender is not a state of mind. It's the absence of mind. And surrender and fullness are actually the same thing. Because when you surrender the sense of lack, what's right around the corner from that is fullness. Life starts to feel full. And then from that fullness, you manifest more and more fullness, because life is just flowing and there's no blockages. And that's your true nature. It's just effortless, loving, enhancing, subtle, divine, life-loving beauty. That's your true nature. And that can just keep happening and happening and happening. But you have to just withdraw the resistance, and you have to not do it in a fake kind of way. You have to literally be willing to go to do these activities, whatever activities you're hiding from, or you are secretly resisting, and you're trying to manifest a way to avoid these activities. That will never work. You have to transmute the activity. That's why they say that the cave you fear the most is where the treasure you're looking for lies. But it's not just, there's actually treasure behind every resistance. Even the caves that you don't fear the most, there's treasure in every cave. But the biggest fears are where the biggest resistances is. And those are like the big dragons. But if you can face those big dragons, if you can transcend the resistance of those big fears up to those activities, then you can transmute it. And then you can reclaim huge amounts of energy. You can, because whatever level of fear you have to something, or whatever level of resistance you have to something, anything, that's a percentage of your energy that's not flowing, that's being blocked, and that's being involuted, and it's not giving you anything of what you want. Because what you want, well, what you truly want is the absence of want. But then what comes with the absence of want is flow. And then life automatically gives you those things that you were wanting. But again, you have to collapse the wanting. You have to collapse the particle into the wave. Be the wave, be the flow, and life will give everything to you. Life will give everything to you. You can just completely let go. But it's not letting go in a personal kind of way. It's not letting go in a mind way where you're like being lazy or something. It's letting go of all resistance. And then when you're in a state of non-resistance, things like lethargic behavior, like doom scrolling on your phone, or like procrastinating, that stuff actually goes away, Because doom scrolling on your phone or procrastinating or spending hours on social media, those are actually forms of resistance. And they're almost like a resistance to a resistance, which makes it double as worse. It's like you're resisting a bigger challenge. And then as a reaction to not withdrawing that resistance, you're doubling down on the resistance in the form of like doing like bad activity, like binge eating, or like watching a bunch of movies that you shouldn't, or like just engaging with like low frequency activity. And that all just further binds you. But so when you're in a state of non-resistance, those types of lethargic activities, they actually stop happening. You no longer do those, and you flow through those, and then you slowly and steadily start to undo those those really big energetic torpedoes, and they start to loosen up, and you start to gain more and more energy, and you gain more and more momentum, and then you're actually getting positive feedback from life because you're seeing that this works. You're seeing that doing these activities, that living life from a state of non-resistance, it actually works, and it undoes these energetic patterns that are keeping you bound. And so that inspires you to keep going. And it gets to a point to where you know you can do anything. You don't fear anything because you truly see that the only thing to fear is fear itself. Because fear is resistance, and that only exists in the mind. And when you can really truly cognize that and see that all the way, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. Nothing can bind you. Nothing can restrict you, because the only thing that can restrict you is yourself, is your own reaction to these patterns. You are an infinite divine being. Nothing can bind you. You are the sovereign being. In order for anything to come into your field, it is you. It's subject to you, but not you, the person, not you, the mind that has all the resistances, you, the infinite being. And the more you can reclaim your authority as the infinite being by withdrawing these resistances, your experience will begin to reflect that. But it won't happen in the way that the mind always thinks it will. It will happen in the best way. It won't give you what you think you want. It'll give you what you really want. And what you really want are all the subtle divine qualities. Just subtle bliss, beauty, contentedness, clarity, and fullness. You start to feel completely full because there's no sense of lack. And then you feel authentic. You feel like you can actually be yourself. That's the beautiful thing, is like, none of this is about, you don't actually lose the mind. The mind just becomes free. It becomes a part of the flow. And then when you do, anytime you're using words, you're using the mind. And that's not a problem. It's only a problem when it involutes into these stuck energy patterns. But when the mind is just flowing in accordance with that divine flow, it's just flowing upwards with source, it's good. It's great. It feels great to be in the mind, and it feels great to play the character. And you can play it even more fully. That's the paradox. Is the way to play the character most effectively is to transcend the character, is to transcend the resistance. And then you can play it from a state of non-resistance, and you can enjoy everything. You can enjoy everything. And then life actually becomes exciting in a way to find resistances, to find little activities which you find yourself subconsciously resisting, because the moment you notice it, that's energy to be reclaimed. That's energy to be reclaimed. But you don't even have to go looking for it. Life will effortlessly present you those, because your energy is just flowing forward, and you'll be effortlessly guided to these little blockages, these little restrictions in your energy. Life will present it to you in the form of some type of activity that you resist, some type of news or experience. It could be anything. It could be a call, it could be a friend, it could be a family member. And then to the degree to which you withdraw that resistance, that experience will transmute, and it will open up, and it will get better. And new things will flow in, things will resolve, things will purify, and they'll start to feel good again. It'll just feel free. And that's what we're always really wanting. We're not wanting the things. We want the things because wanting the things is, again, it's like a resistance on a resistance. We're trying to cover up the resistance with like the perfect set of things. But that's not what we want. We want to be really, truly free. To know that we could be in any experience in the world, no matter what, and it would be no problem. It would be no problem. Life would just take care of us. That's what we really want. And that's true wealth. True wealth is not about money or status. True wealth is the deep knowing and unwavering clarity that you are infinite, that you are boundless, and that nothing can bind you, that you are the sovereign being. That's wealth. And that's everyone's birthright. We are all the prodigal son. This is not just a possibility, it's your God-given right. And that's where we're all headed. Everyone's on their way there. Everyone's actually already there. They just have to recognize it. Let go of the mental resistance and return to the infinite, pristine, divine self. And everything will fall into place.